All right, so today by the title, you can see that we are going to start with the next chapter of Edexcel IGCSE Biology, which is respiration. So if you tell me, what do you know about respiration? What is respiration?
It is type of energy,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like when you get energy in, so you have like aerobic respiration, which uses air to get energy, and you have like anaerobic
You
respiration,
have to
which
produce
uses,
energy in respiration. You don't get energy. Respiration is done to
yeah,
produce
so
energy. Got it? With the
it's
help
the
of
process to get energy.
exactly. Okay, with the help of oxygen. And then you're going to produce what? Carbon dioxide and water, and oxygen reacts with what? Your biological molecules, the glucose, the sucrose, the carbohydrates basically, and then
Yes,
energy will be released in this process. We call it as respiration.
respiration.
What is ATP?
ATP, that was, it was, and then it was like a very hard word to pronounce.
Adenosine triphosphate. I didn't
Yes,
ask you to
that's word.
pronounce with the whole. I'm just asking what is ATP? Simple answer.
Oh, it's like cellular respiration.
No. ATP is the molecule in which energy is converted. Energy cannot be used in a raw form. It has to be stored in a molecule known as ATP. And then this ATP goes to different parts of the body where the energy has to be supplied. जैसे आपके रिमोट की बैटरीज होती हैं. Do you have directly the current in your hand, or do you have your batteries in your hand? Batteries होती हैं.
Batteries.
Those
Yeah.
batteries carry the energy. Is because energy raw form में you can't see what is energy. Can you see energy? You can't. It's in a molecule. जैसे energy, electrical energy एक बैटरी में होती है, वैसे ही chemical energy is present in the form of ATP. Chemical reactions to build larger molecules from smaller molecules. Organisms को energy क्यों चाहिए? To build larger molecules from smaller molecules, for muscle contraction, and for also keeping them warm at constant temperature at suitable enzymatic activity. Cellular respiration is an exothermic reaction that is continuously occurring in living cells. The chemical process of cellular respiration releases energy from glucose, and the energy is transferred via the molecule of adenosine triphosphate, which is ATP. ATP produced in respiration in the mitochondria is required for the living processes to occur within the cells and organism. And where does this respiration take place? In which organelle?
The mitochondria.
Mitochondria. And respiration produces what?
Energy.
In the form of?
ATP.
By using?
Oxygen.
Good. So here you can see, where do humans use energy? The passage of nerve impulses, for muscle contractions, for synthesizing proteins, for active transport, for cell division and growth, and also for maintaining a constant body temperature. What is active transport? And why is energy used in active transport?
Because it is when you go from a high area concentration to low.
Wrong.
No, low area to high.
Good. You have to go against
Because,
the concentration gradient.
yes, because when you go with the gradient, it doesn't need energy, but when
That
you
is
have to go
passive.
against it, you require energy.
And that's it active. Good. So what are the two types of respiration? First is aerobic
Aerobic and
respiration.
anaerobic.
Good. Aerobic respiration requires oxygen, and it is defined as the chemical reaction in cells that uses oxygen to break down nutrient molecules to release energy. Aerobic respiration is the complete breakdown of glucose to release a relatively large amount of energy for use in cell processes and reactions. अब यहाँ पे glucose का breakdown हो रहा है by reacting with oxygen, producing carbon dioxide and water along with energy. Carbon dioxide and water are produced as waste products as well as they are releasing useful cellular energy. So this is the chemical equation, the word equation for aerobic respiration. Glucose combines with oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water. This happens where? Inside the mitochondria.
In the
And this
mitochondria.
process also releases energy, and that energy is then stored in the molecule ATP. So this is the balanced chemical equation of aerobic respiration as well that you can see over here, where C6H12O6, this is the formula of glucose, okay, which is reacted with 6 moles of oxygen. When you balance this equation, producing 6 moles of carbon dioxide and 6 moles of water. This is the balanced chemical equation of aerobic respiration, where one molecule of glucose combines with 6 molecules of oxygen to produce 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water. So can you tell me what is aerobic respiration?
Aerobic respiration is the uh, respiration which requires oxygen to create energy in the mitochondria. When you have glucose plus oxygen, which create carbon dioxide plus water.
I didn't
Good
realize I
job.
was underwater.
Good job.
I just didn't realize I was this underwater.
In this video, we're going to look at the different types of respiration and at why the reaction is so important. If we think about the energy that we use to function, the majority of it comes from molecules of glucose, which were originally made by plants during photosynthesis. To release this energy, we use a process called cellular respiration, which we can describe as an exothermic reaction which transfers energy from glucose and is continuously occurring in living cells. So basically, it involves breaking apart glucose molecules to release the energy that's trapped inside. Notice that I keep saying release energy. That's because energy isn't being made, it's just being transferred from the glucose molecules. And all exothermic means is that the reaction releases energy. Before we explore how respiration works, let's take a look at 3 examples of how organisms use their energy. One is to build up larger molecules from lots of smaller ones. For example, combining amino acids to form proteins. Another is for muscular contraction, so that we can move about. And the third is maintaining our body temperature, so that we stay nice and warm, even in colder environments. As we said a minute ago, these are only a few examples. Energy is actually needed for loads of reactions in our cells all the time, most of which are catalyzed by enzymes. As an aside, we call the combination of all of these reactions, and also lots that don't require any energy, as metabolism, which we can define as all the chemical processes that occur within a living organism in order to maintain life. Getting back to respiration though, there are 2 types that you need to know about: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is the more common type, and takes place whenever there's enough oxygen, which is the key point to remember. It's by far the most efficient way to transfer energy from glucose, and it takes place continuously in both plants and animals. Specifically though, it takes place within the subcellular structures known as mitochondria. The word equation for aerobic respiration is glucose plus oxygen, goes to form carbon dioxide plus water. It's also important to know the chemical symbols though. And notice that there's 6 of everything except glucose, because glucose is a much larger molecule. If you remember the equation for photosynthesis, you might notice that this equation is the exact opposite, because photosynthesis produces the glucose in the first place. Now, anaerobic respiration is basically respiration without oxygen. We only do this when we really have to. For example, when we're sprinting and can't get enough oxygen to our tissues in order to keep up with the demands of the more efficient aerobic respiration. The word equation for anaerobic respiration is glucose goes to form lactic acid, and there are really 2 reasons why we prefer not to use it. One is that there's incomplete breakdown of the glucose molecule, because there's no oxygen to oxidize it, which makes the whole process inefficient, because we're not unlocking all of the energy within the glucose molecule. The second problem is that lactic acid builds up, which has to be removed later, as we'll see in our next video on exercise. The last thing we need to cover is anaerobic respiration in plants and yeast, which is a bit different. This time, the glucose is converted to ethanol and carbon dioxide instead of lactic acid. In the case of yeast, we call this process fermentation, and we take advantage of it in industry. For example, we add yeast to bread so that the carbon dioxide it produces forms little pockets of air that make the bread appear light and fluffy. And because fermentation produces ethanol, which is a type of alcohol, We also use yeast to make beer and wine. And that's everything for this video.
So is the basics of respiration clear?
Yep.
Anaerobic respiration does not use oxygen. When does anaerobic take place? When there is limiting
No
amount of
oxygen.
ठीक है जब मसल्स में सारी ऑक्सीजन यूज अप हो जाए and you're still running and jogging, your muscles will start anaerobically respiring, and then lactic acid is also produced, which is harmful for your muscles. That is why you have to take a rest, return the oxygen that you've taken alone, and then carry out aerobic respiration again. So it is defined as the chemical reaction in cells that breaks down nutrient molecules to release energy without using oxygen. It involves the incomplete breakdown of glucose and releases a relatively small amount of energy for use in cell processes. Different breakdown products are formed depending on the type of organism that the anaerobic respiration is taking place in, and you need to know the equations for anaerobic respiration in animals and fungi as well. It mainly takes place in muscle cells during vigorous exercise. Vigorous means what?
What?
What does vigorous mean? Listen.
A lot.
Good. When we exercise at high intensities, our muscles have a higher demand for energy. Our bodies can only deliver so much oxygen to our muscle cells for aerobic respiration, and when oxygen runs out, glucose is broken down without it, producing lactic acid instead. Glucose has not been fully broken down, meaning there is still energy stored within the bonds of lactic acid molecules. So anaerobic respiration less energy release करता than aerobic respiration. So what is
Yes.
happening in muscles? Glucose converts into lactic acid
Lactic
during
acid.
anaerobic respiration. This is what is happening. This is the chemical equation. Glucose to C3H6O3, which is lactic acid. This is the balanced chemical equation where one molecule of glucose is broken down into two molecules of
2
lactic acid.
lactic acid.
Lactic acid builds up in muscle cells and lowers the pH of muscle tissue, making the conditions more acidic. अब जब conditions acidic होती हैं, आपका मतलब pH less हो गया. The enzymes which are there in the muscles helping in boosting up the metabolism, these enzymes will denature, because enzyme activity is always affected by pH.
pH and temperature.
Good. Lactic acid will eventually be broken down using oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and water as waste products, and the amount of oxygen required to break down the lactic acid that has built up is referred to as oxygen debt. जो आपको अपने लोन लिया हुआ था, अब आपको दोबारा, once this lactic acid is built up due to anaerobic respiration, now you need to rest after exercise, breathe in oxygen again, and use the oxygen to break down the lactic acid that has been produced. पहले क्या हुआ था? You had oxygen, you were doing aerobic respiration, you still did exercise, you didn't stop. Oxygen finished, you carried out anaerobic respiration, lactic acid was produced. Then you took a
Yes.
rest. When you took a rest, you breathed in more oxygen, and that oxygen wasn't used in respiration. First, this oxygen will be used to destroy the lactic acid, and then you can start again aerobic respiration. Because
Yes.
first you have to clear the debt. What is debt? A loan that you've taken. ठीक है?
Yes.
You can't spend the money before returning the loan. You have to first return the loan, then spend more money. So you are repaying the oxygen debt. Plants and yeast can also respire without oxygen as well, breaking down glucose in the absence of oxygen to produce ethanol and carbon dioxide. Anaerobic respiration in yeast cells is called fermentation, which is economically important in the manufacture of bread, where the carbon dioxide produced help the dough to rise. यहाँ पे good है. Anaerobic benefits भी होते हैं. Benefits क्या क्या है anaerobic respiration के? जहाँ yeast होती है, yeast carbon dioxide produce करती है for dough making. Then ethanol भी anaerobically respire करती है in the production of beer. So these are two advantages of anaerobic respiration as well. So what is happening inside a yeast cell? Fermentation. Yeast cell में क्या होता है? Fermentation. Remember,
Fermentation.
fermentation is also anaerobic respiration. जो sugar होती है yeast के अंदर, that is going to ferment, convert into ethanol. ठीक है? Yeast के anaerobic respiration is known as fermentation, और वहां पे lactic acid produce नहीं होता. यहाँ पे क्या produce हो रहा है? Ethanol, which is an alcohol
Ethanol.
along with carbon.
CO2.
This carbon dioxide, when we used yeast in our dough making, the dough becomes fluffy. Air bubbles आ जाते हैं, जैसे बर्गर के बन्स होते हैं. They form carbon dioxide gas bubbles. Got it?
Yep. Yeah.
अगर हम anaerobic respiration humans में बात करें, वहां पे the sugar is converted to lactic acid. So anaerobic respiration is different for animals and humans, and it is different for the fungi or yeast. Got it?
Yep.
Two types होती हैं आपके पास anaerobic respiration की. In humans, a different product is formed. In yeast and fungi, a different product is formed. Animals और humans में जो anaerobic respiration होगी, that is known as anaerobic respiration. But yeast में उसका नाम है fermentation.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. Glucose without oxygen converts into alcohol and carbon dioxide. This is the balance equation where you can see that one molecule of glucose breaks down into two molecules of ethanol and two molecules of carbon dioxide. Got it?
Yeah.
Let me show you one thing. So what is anaerobic respiration?
Anaerobic respiration is without oxygen, where the glucose will become lactic acid in the muscle, for example. And after you are, for example, done using it, you have to use the oxygen to break down the lactic acids.
Good job.
You are running a 1,500-meter race. Breathing deeply to get the oxygen so that you can respire and keep up the energy supply to your muscles. Your muscles keep wanting more and more energy, but your lungs can't keep up. Do you have to quit the race? No. In the respiration video, we discovered the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration, and then looked at aerobic respiration in more detail. Sometimes animals and plants can't get enough oxygen to respire aerobically, such as during intense exercise, but they still need to respire to survive. After all, everything relies on respiration for energy. Luckily, there is a backup plan: anaerobic respiration. In this video we are going to have a look at anaerobic respiration in both animals and plants. Starting with animals. A cheetah sprinting to catch some prey cannot take in enough air and blood around the body fast enough for aerobic respiration. The heart and lungs can't keep up, so anaerobic respiration is carried out instead. Here is the generalized equation for anaerobic respiration. See how it differs from aerobic respiration. There is no oxygen involved in anaerobic respiration. It is much less efficient than aerobic respiration, and much less energy is released. This is because the glucose is only partially broken down. Another problem is that lactic acid is produced. This is actually a poisonous chemical that if it builds up in the body, the muscle stops working and you get a muscle cramp. You can only get rid of lactic acid by taking in oxygen again, and thus replacing the oxygen there. Oxygen is needed to break down lactic acid, turning it into carbon dioxide and water. You know how you breathe deeply after intense exercise? This is your body replacing the built-up oxygen there. So that is how anaerobic respiration works in animals. What about in plants? The oxygen supply can run out for plants too, such as in waterlogged soils. This then forces plants to have to carry out anaerobic respiration, as they too need to respire constantly. Here's a generalized anaerobic respiration equation for plants. Notice how instead of lactic acid being produced, ethanol and carbon dioxide is made instead. In yeast, this process is called fermentation, and it is used to bake bread and brew alcohol. Ethanol is the alcohol found in beer and wine, for example. And in bread making, it is the carbon dioxide that is useful. The bubbles in carbon dioxide help the bread rise by expanding the dough. So you should now know that when our heart and lungs cannot keep up with the oxygen demand, or plants do not have access to sufficient oxygen, we have a B plan: anaerobic respiration. This is when the glucose is broken down directly, but it produces much less energy than aerobic respiration, which is why it's the second choice. And in animals it produces lactic acid as a byproduct, which causes muscle cramps, and so we end up with an oxygen debt which needs repairing after exercise has stopped.
All right, is it clear?
Yes.
So if we compare anaerobic and aerobic respiration, we have different needs. जैसे ऑक्सीजन की बात करें, in aerobic respiration it's needed, anaerobic में it's not needed. ग्लूकोज
Yep.
ब्रेकडाउन एरोबिक में कंप्लीट होता है बट एनारोबिक में इट्स इनकम्प्लीट. प्रोडक्ट्स इन एरोबिक रेस्पिरेशन क्या है? कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एंड वाटर.
Carbon dioxide and water.
एनारोबिक में एनिमल सेल्स में लैक्टिक
Lactic acids,
कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एंड
carbon dioxide and ethanol.
एनर्जी रिलीज एरोबिक में ज्यादा होती है, एनारोबिक में a little energy is produced. So now we're going to do a paper number 2, practical investigation, which is regarding respiration. I think it's regarding measuring rate of respiration. So we can investigate the production of carbon dioxide and heat from respiration through experiments using germinating seeds or other living organisms such as woodlice. We need boiling tubes, rubber bungs, hydrogen carbonate solution, cotton wool, glass beads, germinating seeds and boiled and dead seeds. हमने क्या investigate करना है? The production of carbon dioxide in respiration. तो हमने क्या किया? यू कैन सी हमने डिफरेंट जर्मिनेटिंग सीड्स भी लिए और हमने डेड सीड्स भी लिए, live and dead both type of seeds. First of all, measure out 10 centimeter cube of hydrogen carbonate indicator. What does this indicator do?
I guess indicate when it's done.
Indicate what?
That it is ready.
If carbon dioxide is present or not. Got it? कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड
Yeah.
नहीं प्रेजेंट तो कलर चेंज नहीं होगा, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड प्रेजेंट है तो ये इंडिकेटर कलर चेंज करेगा. ठीक है. सो वी हैव मेजर्ड 10 सेंटीमीटर क्यूब ऑफ दिस इंडिकेटर एंड प्लेस्ड इट इनटू 3 बॉइलिंग ट्यूब्स. गॉट इट? 1 2
Yep.
3 बॉइलिंग ट्यूब के अंदर प्लेस हो गया. देन वी पुट इन अ लेयर ऑफ कॉटन वूल एज वेल एंड प्लेस 10 germinating seeds in tube A, dead seeds in tube B and glass beads in tube C. ठीक है. ट्यूब सी के अंदर क्या है? ग्लास के बीड्स है. ट्यूब बी में डेड सीड्स है एंड ट्यूब ए में जर्मिनेटिंग सीड्स हैं. कैन यू टेल मी विच ऑफ दीज आर गोइंग टू प्रोड्यूस कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड? जर्मिनेटिंग, डेड और ग्लास बीड्स?
I guess I don't know, germinated maybe
यस. व्हाई? यू आर करेक्ट.
because it's alive or
इट्स अलाइव. जर्मिनेट कर रहा है. व्हाट इज जर्मिनेटिंग? ग्रोइंग. डेड सीड्स तो रेस्पिरेशन नहीं करेंगे और ग्लास बीड्स तो सीड्स हैं. And we are going to seal each tube with a rubber bung as well. And after 3 hours, we'll observe the color of the indicator. Look at this. जो ट्यूब ए थी जहां पे germinating seeds थे, a high concentration of carbon dioxide was formed because the hydrogen carbonate indicator is orange in atmospheric CO2 levels. Hydrogen carbonate orange कब होता है? When the CO2 levels are normal, such as in tube B. ठीक है. In
Right.
high CO2 levels, the indicator becomes yellow because ये कहाँ पे yellow हुआ है? In the germinating seeds में. In the germinating seeds, it has become what? Yellow.
yellow?
Orange का orange कहाँ पे रहा? No color change was observed in B. Hydrogen carbonate is orange. It remained orange in the dead seeds because dead seeds did not carry out respiration. और ग्लास बीड्स में क्या हुआ? ग्लास बीड्स में यहाँ पे बिल्कुल भी कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड नहीं थी. ग्लास बीड्स तो सीड्स है ही नहीं. पर्पल कलर इंडिकेट्स
It loses
carbon
carbon dioxide.
Good job. So in this investigation, we would expect to note the following. Tube A should turn yellow as the seeds are respiring and producing carbon dioxide. Tube B should remain orange as the dead seeds produce no carbon dioxide. And tube C should remain orange as there is no living material in there as well. यहाँ पे भी अगर आप देखो हमने क्या किया, अब ये ट्यूब ए थी. ट्यूब ए के अंदर जर्मिनेटिंग सोप सीड्स थे तो उसका कलर ऑरेंज से क्या हो गया था? येलो. Because CO2 was produced, right? The
Yeah.
seeds were germinating. तो हाइड्रोजन कार्बोनेट का कलर क्या होता है? ऑरेंज. It turned from orange
Orange.
to yellow, indicating high concentration.
Yellow
Dead
of
seeds
hydrogen
में
carbonate.
क्या था? Dead seeds में the hydrogen carbon indicator was yellow. It remained yellow because there was no change in color. No carbon dioxide was produced. Got it?
Yep.
और ट्यूब सी के अंदर भी आपके पास there was no color change because no carbon dioxide was produced. What if there was another organism that would absorb CO2? What if there was an animal in the test tube that is absorbing CO2? फिर वहां पे कलर चेंज क्या होता है? Can you tell me?
It will become purple.
Exactly, purple. Because purple क्या होता है? Low levels of carbon dioxide.
Low.
That carbon
Yes.
dioxide is being used. ट्यूब ए में प्रोड्यूस हुई थी, ट्यूब बी में नॉट प्रोड्यूस, ट्यूब सी में नॉट प्रोड्यूस्ड। और अगर हम एक फोर्थ लेते, जैसे कोई एनिमल डाल देते, अ कॉकरोच और अ बीटल, दैट इज यूजिंग कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, वहां पे पर्पल भी हो सकता था। सो यू शुड रिमेंबर दीज थ्री कलर्स ऑफ हाइड्रोजन कार्बन इंडिकेटर। व्हेन इट इज येलो, जब कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड हाई है। व्हेन इज इट ऑरेंज, व्हेन इट्स इक्वल टू द एटमॉस्फेरिक कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड। एंड व्हेन इज इट पर्पल, व्हेन देयर इज लो कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड। तो लाइव सीड्स, जो जर्मिनेटिंग सीड्स प्रोड्यूस्ड येलो, एंड द डेड सीड्स एंड ग्लास बीड्स प्रोड्यूस्ड व्हाट? ऑरेंज कलर। नाउ डेमोन्स्ट्रेटिंग द प्रोडक्शन ऑफ हीट, कि क्या रेस्पिरेशन में, यू हैव टू प्रूव मी दैट इज हीट प्रोड्यूस्ड इन रेस्पिरेशन और नो। यूज वैक्यूम फ्लास्क, थर्मोमीटर, कॉटन वूल, जर्मिनेटिंग सीड्स एंड बॉइल्ड सीड्स। अब हम दो किस्म के सीड्स यूज कर रहे हैं। These would obviously do respiration. Dead seeds will not do respiration. Set up the flask as shown in the diagram. Flask A के अंदर हम डालेंगे germinating seeds, flask B में डालेंगे dead seeds, and cotton wool will be plugged on top of the each flask, and then we're going to hold the thermometer, invert the flask, first record the initial temperature, and after 4 days we are going to record the final temperature as well. Got it?
Right.
This is flask A, this is flask B. Flask A has flask A has dead seeds. Flask B has germinating seeds. Which one of these flask would respire?
Flask B.
Good. ये respiration करेंगे, which means they would produce heat as well. मतलब कि अगर इसका initial temperature was let's say 25, maybe after 4 days the temperature is 40. ठीक है, लेकिन इसका temperature would remain the same. If you left it at 25, it would remain at 25. The
25.
thermometer in the flask with the germinating seeds should show an increase in temperature, and flask B should remain at room temperature. अच्छा, यहाँ पे labeling उल्टी हुई है, opposite है, ठीक है, तो वो confuse ना हो। फ्लास्क ए में जो germinating seeds थे, even though they were in flask B actually, तो वो confused है labeling. This is basically flask B. They were respiring and they produced heat energy in the process. This shows that respiration is an exothermic reaction which releases heat energy. The seeds in flask B are not respiring because they are dead. So the temperature will remain the same. Got it?
Yeah.
So whenever you are asked this practical exam in your paper, you have to use the COMS evaluation technique and answer accordingly. First, you have to mention what are you changing? What is your independent variable? What are you changing? ठीक है? For example, the type of seeds. आपने क्या बदला था? The types of seeds. What is being controlled?
Yep.
What is the organism जो आप use कर रहे हो? What are you repeating? Repeat तो आपने same line बोलनी है दफा. What is that repeated line that you will answer in all practicals? You should always repeat your experiment for more reliable and accurate results and to get a more average value for the answer. This is the copy line that you always have to write in every experiment, whatever the experiment is. All experiments need repeating. Got it?
Yes.
The first measurement that you will make is known as the dependent variable. Dependent variable क्या है? That आपने change किया independent. Dependent क्या है यहाँ पे? Temperature.
Not changed.
ठीक है, डिपेंडेंट होता है टेम्परेचर, दैट विल चेंज बिकॉज ऑफ द समथिंग दैट यू चेंज्ड। यू चेंज द सीड्स। एक आप सीड लाए जो जर्मिनेटिंग थे और एक आप लाए डेड। दिस इज
Yeah.
समथिंग
So
आई
the
डिड। आई डिड इज इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल। Now temperature is dependent on the type of seed. I don't change the temperature. I am not changing the temperature. The dependent variable temperature is dependent on the type of seeds that I brought. Germinating में
so
temperature change
germinating
होगा,
or
dead में temperature change नहीं होगा. Temperature is a dependent
yes,
variable depending on the type of seed.
germ or seed.
Measurement 2 is that what time scale are you going to use and what are you going to keep things the same? Jesse, what are you going to keep same? The number of seeds, the size of tube, the volume of hydrogen carbonate indicator, the type of thermometer, the type of room conditions, the same initial temperature. ये सारी चीजें वो हैं जो आपने same रखनी है. So in your first investigation, जो आपकी hydrogen carbonate वाली थी to measure the carbon dioxide, उसमें क्या चीज है? We will change the content of the boiling tube. This is the independent variable. You are changing the seeds. Got it? German
Yes.
dead or glass beige. This is independent variable. I change these. Organisms क्या थे? The seeds should always be the same size and species. We will repeat the investigation several times to ensure our results are reliable. And what is the measurement one? The dependent variable, the color. यहाँ पे dependent variable क्या था? Color of hydrogen carbonate. Because this
Yes.
color of hydrogen carbonate is dependent on the type of seed. Got it?
Yes. Yes.
Measurement 2 is it will take 3 hours. After 3 hours, you are going to observe the color. And what will you control? Volume of hydrogen carbonate indicator, which was 10 centimeter cube in all test tubes.
How much seeds, the temperature of the environment and stuff.
Temperature of the environment and all. Second investigation T, to investigate if heat is produced or not. So we will change the content of the flask. Again, what are you changing? The independent variable, the type of seeds. Okay. What are the organisms? The seeds should be all the same size and species. The independent variable के बारे में आपने बताना है. You have to describe the independent variable in the organism part. Got it?
Yep.
Then we will repeat the investigation several times to ensure our results are reliable. Measurement 1 के we will observe the change in temperature on the thermometer, and this will be done after 4 days. And what are you going to keep the same? The number of seeds, starting temperature,
Yep.
initial temperature. ठीक है? तो change in temperature आपके पास था dependent variable यहाँ पे, which is always going to be your measurement 1. Measurement 1 is always the dependent variable. Measurement 2 time होता है. ठीक है? यहाँ पे भी measurement 1 was the color of hydrogen carbonate. ये dependent variable था. यहाँ पे temperature, final temperature, the dependent variable, which is depending on the independent variable that you changed, the 2 types of seeds. And that is the end of your chapter of respiration. Got it?